So every single time you doom scroll, you are abusing a substance. Hey y'all, this is my media literacy follow-up video. Strap in. I will be posting this on YouTube too, so if you're here on TikTok, you can go look at all of the references that I will be referencing throughout this video in the description of my YouTube. So in the video that I watched that really put into perspective the importance of media literacy, she pointed out two things. And again, this will be linked in the description below. One, consumer culture is the perfection of slavery, and two, social media doom scrolling reduces the gray matter in your brain, which reduces your cognitive function, making you easier to manipulate. And it really put into perspective that the reason I was doom scrolling, it wasn't just to chase that short-term gratification of the dopamine hits, but it was also because it's just become a societal norm to go straight into passive mode when you get home from work, or you get home and you're exhausted, or just out of habit. When you go into passive mode, whenever you consume mindlessly, you are more susceptible to manipulation. But scientists are agreeing that brain rot is a real thing. They're even going as far as to call it a sort of social media dementia. Um, while often used colloquially, I don't know how to say that word. The concept of brain rot is gaining scientific validation, with research revealing tangible changes in brain structure and function linked to excessive internet use. Early studies reveal the constant influx of information leads to cognitive overload, impacting performance more negatively than cannabis use. The constant distractions of the digital world hinder our capacity for deep thinking and critical analysis, leaving us susceptible to misinformation and manipulation. And like I was saying earlier, we are more susceptible to all of this when we are already exhausted from being exploited through corporate, through our corporate jobs, through 9 to 5s. And Silicon Valley, driven by profit motives, have weaponized these persuasive technologies, exploiting our vulnerabilities for financial gain. If you don't know what Silicon Valley is, it's located in southern San Francisco in Northern California, and it was originally just a tech company, but it has evolved into this big monopoly where all of these big corporations, including Big Pharma and our federal government, have joined forces to control people using technology and social media. They're literally experimenting on us psychologically. And it's so dangerous because they have global media influence, they have exacerbated social inequalities, they influence how people communicate, work, and consume, which perpetuates mental health issues and environmental degradation due to exploitative practices, not only on the environment but also people. Like, we have to think about these people in these cobalt mines that they're exploiting and stuff like that. Also, all of this electronic waste, and they have absolutely decimated the ecosystems around Silicon Valley. They have also, their urban development have displaced people and animals alike, and also just absolutely decimated the environment. Experts are calling it a sort of techno-authoritarianism, where these big corporations and the federal government have literally joined forces to control people using social media, making it a sort of authoritarianism. Media can prime cognitive processes by activating certain thoughts, beliefs, and stereotypes in an individual's mind. Being exposed to objectifying and sexualizing representations is linked to internalizing societal beauty standards, endorsing sexist beliefs, and tolerating abuse and body shame. Media exposure can significantly influence how the public thinks, feels, and behaves when it comes to politics, and it is important to be aware of these influences and challenge the bias you are being faced with. They literally manipulate us using psychological warfare and then gaslight us to think we're crazy when we question it. I mean, like, we even call each other crazy when we question it, which is crazy because we should be questioning everything. Now, this goes into how the government directly uses the media to control the masses. The release of the AARO's 2024 Historical UAP report, which is linked in the description, demonstrates how narrative priming remains a preferred tool for managing public perception before releasing official information. In both historical and modern contexts, information is selectively curated, strategically disseminated, and rhetorically reframed to minimize the disruptive potential of paradigm-shifting discoveries, and they do this all with the help of big corporations. So if you don't understand what that means whenever they have to release something incriminating or just something that can shift the public's perception, they will flood our mainstream media with all of this different type of programming to distract us. And if y'all didn't know, our federal government isn't just our federal government, and like, it's not just state governments and local governments, it's also big corporations, because big corporations pay off our government. Like, we could have an ecologically balanced society, but corporate greed. I mean, these corporations and the federal government go as far as to use colors to manipulate consumers' emotional impulses. They use scarcity and urgency tactics. So, whenever a fast food chain comes out with a new food and then in a couple weeks they take it away, they're leaving you on a sort of, cliffhanger to keep you hooked. They also use a technique called anchoring bias. So, they make you think you're paying less than what you actually are. So, like when they mark a product $1.99 instead of $2, and they'll use like authority figures to manipulate people into thinking their product is the best. So, for example, whenever a brand comes out with a new toothpaste, and they'll use dentists to say 9 out of 10 dentists recommend this toothpaste brand. Even though most toothpaste that we have has like a disgusting amount of fluoride, and fluoride is a trace mineral in our body, so we're not supposed to have more than like a tiny amount, and if we go over that amount, then that actually promotes tooth decay. Just like we have like trace amounts of cobalt in our body, in our systems, but if we get too much cobalt, then we will die. And then corporations, as we know, steal and profit off of our data. So they will sell our data to like advertisers who will take a look at who we are, our data, and then they'll give us ads that we're more likely to, consume and buy from. And some businesses actually change their prices based on a person's data. So if you're rich, then they will likely give you like higher prices and better discounts. But if you're poor, then you'll likely get like really shit discounts. Many websites and businesses actually take your data unless you tell them no. So if you are on a website and they ask you if you accept these cookies, those cookies are tracking your chocolate chips, babe. And I mean, there's been so many times where companies and stuff like that have misused our data. Like a social media company faced complaints for planning to use their data to train AI, which I mean, they're literally training AI with our consciousness, with our data, with our consciousness to manipulate us. So, what is media literacy? Media literacy is not just being able to think for yourself, it's also not giving into consumer culture. And media literacy is not only important so you can think for yourself, but it's also so you can take your power back and exercise your creative nature as a human being. Because, newsflash, you are not supposed to be in passive mode consuming your life away. Media literacy is exercising your creative nature rather than giving into the societal norm of doom scrolling and consuming and giving into perfected slavery. So, if you want to be the change, the easiest thing you can do is replace doom scrolling with doing something creative. And eventually, you'll see that you have the energy to maybe even work on your passions. Because the reason this society is the way it is because they have taken away our creative natures as human beings. And when we create and we start sharing our creations amongst each other, we will no longer need the federal government, because the only difference between us, our society, and the federal government is one isn't unified. Um, so yeah, that's just something for y'all to think about. Be the freaking change, bro. It's easier than you think.